Hey everybody, Sean from Media Assault here, and it's time once again for another movie review. I haven't done one in quite a while, so I figured I would go ahead and do one tonight. And since it is Christmas Eve, I figured I would just kind of kick back in front of the TV and watch a movie that I knew I was going to enjoy, but it's been a really long time since I'd seen it, and that movie is The Fifth Element. And this is a movie that I hadn't seen this in almost 15 years. This came out in May of 1997 theatrically, and that is the last time I watched it from beginning to end. I'd seen bits and pieces of it on TV and whatnot, but this is the first time I've actually seen it all the way through for almost 15 years, which is pretty scary. And I have it on Blu-ray. So on a little side note before I get into the review and the plot summary and whatnot, if you are a Blu-ray aficionado, you probably know the story of The Fifth Element on Blu-ray. When it was originally released, it was one of the introductory batch of titles that Sony was going to use to show what Blu-ray could do over DVD. And in kind of a misstep, The Fifth Element on Blu-ray. Now this is a visually spectacular film, so this is something that you would really want to watch on Blu-ray and experience it in high definition. The original Blu-ray copy looked barely better, if any better, than the regular DVD. So Sony was trying to win over skeptics who would want to know what makes Blu-ray so special, and this Blu-ray just really didn't do anything for anybody. It was quietly put to death and re-released the following year in a new remastered version, and this is the remastered version. If you would like to know how to tell the difference between this and any stray out-of-print copies that are the original crappy transfer without having to see it, it will say on the back, right there, it says Dolby True HD, and the border along the bottom is silver, not gray, where it says Experience High Definition. So that's just a little tip so you can make sure that you get the right version of the Blu-ray if you're interested in buying it. So with that out of the way, what's this movie about? Well, it's really kind of hard to summarize in a short amount of time, so I'm going to do a very, very, very cut-down version of the plot. Basically, there are 4 stones representing earth, air, fire, and water, the 4 elements, that can be used to activate this weapon that will protect Earth from an evil that approaches every 5,000 years. An archaeological expedition stumbles upon these 4 stones, and their knowledge has been protected by this alien race called the Mondo Shawan, I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly. And they don't trust humans with the knowledge, general knowledge of these stones' existence, so they decide they're going to take them back to their home planet, and then they'll return when they are needed in 300 years when this evil is about to approach. Well, flash forward 300 years later, and their approach to Earth is intercepted by this other race of aliens called the Mogadors, who've been hired by a gun smuggler to retrieve the stones because he wants to use them for his own good. But unfortunately, he doesn't get them. The stones themselves were actually not on the ship, just the location of the stones. So the humans retrieve one of the survivors of this alien race from the wreckage, and they are able to clone an alien from the DNA of this survivor, or at least enough DNA has survived. It's not an actual surviving living being, but they're actually able to clone a survivor out of the wreckage, basically, and it is this alien who is the 5th element who is essential to activating this weapon. And this 5th element is played by Milla Jovovich. She is a female alien named Lilu. Now, when she's cloned, she's in this government facility. She escapes, and she comes in contact with Corbin Dallas, a taxi cab driver played by Bruce Willis. And through a series of events, Bruce Willis is able to connect her to the priest named Vito Cornelius, who is one of the people who is supposed to have knowledge of these 4 stones and what they can do and how they activate the weapon and all that kind of stuff. So it's sort of a race against time to get get the actual stones, find the location, get the stones, get them back to Earth, so they can fire the weapon to protect Earth. That probably sounds really confusing, and I apologize. I tried to make that as cut down as I possibly could. Watching the movie, though, it's really not that confusing. It's actually a lot of fun. This movie was directed and the story was written by Luc Besson, who is probably more noted for Leon the Professional, or just The Professional of the United States, or Leon Outside the United States, which is a really, really good movie, also featuring Gary Oldman, who plays Zorg in The Fifth Element. This movie has a great cast. Aside from Bruce Willis and Gary Oldman, there's Ian Holm, who plays Vito Cornelius, and like I said, Milla Jovovich, who plays Lilu. Chris Tucker is actually in this movie. This was made, I think it came out the same year as Rush Hour, and that at that point is when he stopped making movies except for Rush Hour sequels. But he's actually pretty funny in this movie, playing a 23rd century DJ called Ruby Rod. He actually, the very first time I saw this movie, I thought he was just absolutely hilarious. On a repeated viewing, knowing now that he's Chris Tucker, because I had never seen him before I saw this movie the first time, it was kind of nice to see him doing something other than playing Carter in a Rush Hour sequel. Visually, this movie is just outstanding. It's really cool to look back on this movie 15 years later and realize that while there's a lot of CG in this movie, there appears to be some miniature work and whatnot. It doesn't look dated at all. The music, I think, would be the only thing in this movie that would date it. It sort of sounds like a 90s soundtrack. But visually, this movie is outstanding looking. And I had been doing some reading online, and I don't know how true this is, but I heard the words, read the words remake somewhere, and I don't know if that's going to happen, but I think that would just be a total mistake and totally unnecessary, because there's really nothing about this movie that needs to be remade. It still looks fresh, it still feels fresh, it's still really cool. It's a movie that doesn't take itself very seriously. There's a lot of humor in this movie and a lot of over-the-top stuff going on. The action's over the top. The performances are kind of over the top. The plot is, pretty standard fare, but it's standard in terms of the sci-fi genre. But it's really cool, and the visual design of the aliens, especially the Mondo Shawan, who I really hope I'm pronouncing that right. They kind of look like mechanical turtle people, kind of like if Gamera was a robot with a little head. That's kind of what they look like. It's just really kind of interesting. The costumes are really cool. Just visually, this movie is great, and that's why it was so cool to watch it on Blu-ray, because it really popped off the screen. I think I don't know if you can really see too much on the cover, but from left to right, you've got Lilu, the Milla Jovovich character, Dallas Corbin, as played by Bruce Willis, and then on the right there, on the top, is Zorg, played by Gary Oldman, and then underneath Bruce Willis's head to the right, you've got the Ian Holm character, Vito Cornelius, and then Ruby Rod is between Bruce Willis and Milla Jovovich there. And then at the bottom, the blue character is the diva, whose name I can't remember. She is also very important to the plot. Just a really outstanding visual movie. It's not a movie that you're going to take seriously. When I originally saw it, I wrote a review for it, and I said that Star Wars, this is not, but it is something fresh, and it is something that I think will whet the appetite of most sci-fi fans if they're willing to, lighten up a little bit. Not that sci-fi fans are uptight or anything, but it's really just a fun, visually exciting movie. Really, that's all I have to say about it. So if I was going to give it a review, I would give it I'd give it a 7.5 out of 10. If there's a complaint that I have about it, it's that it sort of runs out of gas towards the end. It's just slightly over 2 hours, and there's a lot of action that takes place in this sort of interstellar vacation resort. And when we actually get to the end of the movie, it's sort of an anticlimax. And I said that when I originally reviewed the film back in '97, and I still feel that way now. It's a movie that peaks a little too early, but it's still a lot of fun. So check out The Fifth Element, and if you've got a Blu-ray player, definitely check it out on Blu-ray. You can get this really cheap now. I think standalone, you can pick it up for $9 or less. I actually got it in a 2-pack with Gattaca for $20, so check it out. And like I said, this is Christmas Eve, so I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas if you celebrate Christmas. If not, I hate to do the politically correct thing and say Happy Holidays, but it covers pretty much everything. So whether it be Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Festivus, winter solstice, whatever it is that you're celebrating this holiday season, I hope you have a good one. And I probably won't have a video for probably next 5 or 6 days, but I just want to wish everybody a happy holiday season. So thanks again for watching, everybody, and if you haven't done so already, please subscribe and rate and comment on this video. So take it easy. Bye.